listening to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Nightly with Natalie. What's going on? What is this? It's going to delay? Are you going to delay? It looks like it's going to delay. Shoot. My lips are not catching up to what I'm saying, so let me fix my camera. Well, shoot. I tried. I really did. I tried. Okay. Well, okay. I guess this will have to work for now, and I'll just switch back and forth. How are you guys doing? Sorry for the short podcast yesterday. I actually never even uploaded it because I was just I had a fiasco yesterday. I spilt my iced coffee right before I was gonna go live. I spilt my iced coffee all over my laptop and all over the surge protector where everything was plugged up. So I was like, I threw everything down. I went to go fetch a towel, clean everything up, flipped my laptop upside down, and then I also had to put certain things in rice so that way it could work again, like my charger, my laptop charger. It was a big fiasco. And then my computer wasn't charging. But today I'm more prepared. What's going on? Oh, look, I see Joni is on, but she's on Facebook. That's good. What's up, Joni? I have decided to go live to my Facebook page because I wasn't showing my Facebook page too much love. And so with that being said, I went ahead and I'm streaming this to my Facebook. Dunkin' Iced Coffee. No, I actually brew my own coffee at home. There's a Texas-based store called H-E-B, and they have a really, really great line called Cafe Olay. And so I grind my own coffee beans and I brew it, and then I let it cool down a little bit, brew an espresso, put that in there, and then I do my own iced coffees because number one, Starbucks is way too damn expensive every single day, and then number two, Commie Bucks is they're always going along the wrong narratives. So I don't really like to support Commie Bucks too much. I like to brew my own coffee, especially if I have my own Patriot coffee, which, by the way, you guys can buy me a coffee and I can buy Patriot coffee. I know Invader Coffee is one of them. Blue Scorpion is another. I don't really support Black Rifle because they've said some things about, the Second Amendment and Kyle Rittenhouse, so I just kind of stopped supporting them. Ariana Oven says, hey, Natalie, babe, great to see you. Beautiful face. Oh, thank you, Ariana. Really appreciate that. And by the way, guys, I have got to wear glasses for the rest of the week. What's going on with this? What is happening? Why does this not show my comments? You see that? It's like black text. I don't know what's going on. All right. But anyway, I get my contacts later on, so I got to preserve the contacts that I got. So I got to wear glasses until then. What else? What's going on? To all the feminine dudes that are attacking me out there, God bless you all. I don't think they would be on this live, but they are definitely on social media saying things about me. And yeah, I mean, they just continuously always have to attack women. They always have to attack women, dox women, make up false narratives, all for the clout. All for the clout. So for shout out to all those dudes out there that are feminine and like to attack women. What up? God bless you all. All right, let's go ahead and get to the news. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll start here. Why not? Mike virtual. All right, here we go. Okay. My lips will catch up, I guess, to what I'm saying. We got receipts. That's right. One purpose. That is right. One purpose. We got receipts. People claiming. I mean, there's so much. I'm not going to go through it, but I'll deploy them when I need to. All right, let's start with this. I'll start with this, actually. So we're on the verge of what seems to be maybe WW3. World War III. Russia is inching in closer and closer to Ukraine, if not they're already there at the border. And Biden basically is showing no power. He's showing no sort of pushback, what seems to be. And it looks to be that he's going to hand this straight up to our adversaries. It gives Putin the green light. Furious Kiev officials who are in Ukraine, they slammed Biden after he said Russia could get away with a minor incursion into Ukraine, sparking White House to backpedal. Because you know why? You want to know why? This is coming from the Daily Mail. You want to know why? Because we have a resident in chief. He ain't even we have a resident in chief who just babbles on. He doesn't really know what the heck he's saying. But this is people's hero for some reason. I mean, this is the only thing he can do. This is the only thing he can do. Resident Joe Biden said Wednesday it would be a disaster for Russia if President Vladimir Putin orders an invasion of neighboring Ukraine. As he said, he did not know Putin's intention, but he said his counterpart doesn't want a full-blown war. But the resident also said publicly it was unclear that the response would be if Russia did something short of an all-out invasion, requiring the White House to move immediately to clean up his remarks. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and we end up having to fight about what to do and what not to do, etc., Biden said at the White House press conference where Russia came up repeatedly. So for those of you that don't know what's going on in Russia, I'll try to do like a brief sort of synopsis. So Russia, Ukraine, they've been at high tensions for a while. And one of the reasons, if not, there's a plethora of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that Russia and Russian nationalists that live in Ukraine, they adhere to Russia. They're Russian loyalists, if you will. And so Russia adheres back to those loyalists, and they kind of hear out their pleas and their requests, their political requests. And then on top of that, the EU, Ukraine is wanting to join, I believe, the EU or NATO, something like that. I think it's simultaneous. I think it's concurrent in tandem. So they want to join the EU, but Russia says no. We have some sort of diplomatic, I guess, ownership of some partial to Ukraine. And so that's where Russia's really making their move in. Now, there's a lot of other things that have I'm sure a lot of other reason for Ukraine versus Russia. But I think the whole NATO EU thing is really, really key here. Sorry to interrupt here. Oops. But where did you get those glasses? They are fire. They are from this company called Zeelool. It's Zeeelool. Zeelool. Actually, I'll type it out right here. Zeelool. So you guys can. There, it's in the chat. All right. So Wednesday evening tonight, National Security spokeswoman Emily Horn wrote that Biden clarified that he was referring to the difference between the military and non-military / paramilitary cyber action by the Russians. Such actions would be met by reciprocal response in coordination with the allies and partners, she said. A Ukrainian official responding to Biden's original comments told CNN after the press conference, this remark potentially gives the green light to Putin to enter Ukraine at his pleasure. The White House was also forced to issue a full clarifying statement. President Biden has been clear with the Russian president, if any Russian military forces move across the Ukrainian border, that's a renewed invasion, and that will be met with a swift, severe, and united response from the USA and our allies, according to a statement from the White House press secretary Jen Psaki. Yeah, right. You're already making us look weak. Like we look weak to our adversaries. So what's the point of trying to backpedal? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yes. Resident Biden, am I right? So then they're claiming. See, this is the thing too. This is also why I believe the U.S. placed sanctions on Russia earlier last year. Was they claimed that. Okay, here's the thing. Let me close up. Here's the thing. This is another reason why there's like tension between like Russia and U.S. under the Biden residency. So, uh, according to the Biden residency, they placed sanctions on Russia. They slapped sanctions last year because they say, get this, they say, well, Russia, you actually interfered with our selections process, if you guys catch my drift, the cheese selections of 2020. And they're basically saying, oh, you hired like Russian bots, you interfered cyber attacks, you hacked us, all these things. Now, stay with me here. This is where it gets like really confusing, right? Because it's like, oh, okay, so now we're admitting that Russia has the ability to do these things, but yet for the past 2 years, what were they saying about the selections process? They were saying it was the most secure selections process ever in U.S. history. That's what they were saying. This is like not my words. These were their words. They were saying this was the most secure selection process ever, that there was no concern, there was no need to do audits or anything like that. So if that's the case, then why are we worried about Russia and slapping sanctions on Russia if this was the most secure selection process ever? You catch what I'm saying? So that was like another appended reason for the tensions between the U.S. and Russia, and then given the other reasons for the EU and Ukraine. Anyway, it's buffoonery. It's nothing but buffoonery. But I thought that was a nice little education bit. The only warmly says bullshizzy. I agree. These people are so ghetto, I swear. They're so ghetto. Every single one of them. Oh, look. Maybe this is it. Let me see. Bull skeezy. Thank you all for their compliments on my glasses. Thank you. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be a nerd for the neck. Well, I always wear glasses, on my downtime, but like I really have to wear glasses. You know what I mean? All right, let's pivot here. This is an interesting story. Apparently, Prince Andy had hissy fits if the staff at Buckingham Palace misplaced his stuffed toys. I thought this was a weird title. And I'm like, okay, was it when he was a child or was it present day? Prince Andrew, coming from the New York Post, would scream if his stuffed toys were misplaced, and ex-guard claims. Only the royal treatment for Teddy, Prince Andy kept a cherished collection of dozens of soft toys in his Buckingham Palace bedroom and would shout and scream if they were not left in the right place. What is happening right now? This is weird. This is some weird stuff. He would scream and shout if they were in the wrong place. Weird. This is a grown man. Former Royal Protection Officer Paul Page described the teddy bears that he saw in the palace in the 6 years that he worked in the palace, starting when Andrew was 38. He had about 50 or 60 toys positioned on the bed, Page told ITV documentary Glenn, Prince Andrew and the Pedophile, which aired on Tuesday. There was a card inspector showed us in a drawer. It was a picture of these bears all in place on the bed. So Prince Andrew had a schematics. Uh-oh, did I freeze? Did I freeze? Did I freeze? It looks like freezing, so let me change this. Cheese and crackers. Looks like I'm freezing. There we go. Okay. Much better. Share screen. Sorry. Technical difficulties. I don't know. Something's wrong with my CPU memory, I guess. Window. Here we go. Share that one. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So let's chime back into the story. Can you guys see that? Is that coming? Okay, that's much better. Okay, that's much better. Okay. Sorry, I had to just adjust my presentation because I guess it's not running as fast as we want it to. So anyway, Prince Andrew had a whole schematic of how his bear should be on his bed. So a schematic is basically like a roadmap of how products should be. I remember being when I was a makeup artist back at MAC, we'd have things called schematics for the way that the lipsticks should be like in order. So he has the same thing for his stuffed toys. So, and the reason that laminated picture was that if those bears weren't put back in the right order by the maids, he would shout and scream and become verbally abusive. Said one of the page said of Prince. My goodness. The laminated instructions were DOY bed, using initials for Andrew's title as the Duke of York, and royal source told the Sun. The handwritten guide detailed cuddly toys, including 2 hippos and a black panther, as well as how to arrange 3 cushions called Daddy, Ducks, and Prince, the Sun claimed. When DOY is staying overnight, place one small teddy and cushion in the turn down, the instructions read, with details on placements for a teddy with necklaces, as well as one holding a heart, the UK pepper said. Do not lose sick the teddy cushion! Exclamation point, exclamation point. The note warned. I can't understand. I really can't understand. Okay, I have to put this comment up. No. That story makes his trial much more valid. Correct. I mean, who has like this associative, like childlike behavior like that? You understand? Like, this is strange that you're going to act like a child over your stuffed toys and you're what, like 38, 40, 50 years old and going? Minus. This is fantastic. Page was himself embroiled in a major scandal when he was sentenced to years in prison in 2009 for a property scam that a UK judge called breathtakingly dishonest, relentless, and callous. However, Andrew said in 2010 in an interview that he was always collected teddy bears, according to The Sun. Everywhere I went in the Navy, I used to buy a little teddy bear. I got a collection of all of them from all over the world, one sort or another, he said at the time, according to the UK paper. And this is some teddy bears. In 29, okay, I guess like I'm kind of like wondering, I'm like, yo, this story's like kind of strange. Like, why are we talking about Prince Andrew's teddy bears? But really, why is there an entire story on Prince Andrew's teddy bears? Like, we're really talking about this, but only because like this is how big of a deal he made it. In 2019, reporter Elizabeth Day noted in You magazine her stalk had been met by an oversized teddy bear in a waiting area outside Andrew's apartment in the palace when she interviewed him a decade earlier. When I was ushered in to meet Prince Andrew, I asked him about, she recalled. He snickered at me. I don't like that word. Snickered. And told me that it had been a wedding gift from Sarah Ferguson. Apparently, he had been found that the bear waiting for him got into a horse-drawn carriage and was to take them from Westminster Abbey to the reception. Is that like a chuckle, that S word? I just don't like the way it sounded. Sorry. SNIGERD. I remember that he found is extremely funny even several years after the event, she wrote. It seemed rather strange to me that a grown man should be amused by the presence of a stuffed toy. It was weird, she wrote to me at the time. Neither Andrew or Buckingham Palace responded to requests for comment. My goodness. Wow. I mean, that's Prince Andy. All right. Moving on. This is more of a darker story, and this is coming from the Daily Mail. So there was a lesbian couple that visited Mexico recently, and their bodies were found 17 miles apart on a road. Um, this is increasingly very scary in Mexico because it seemed to be that people get very callous and very bold, especially those that are like within certain cartels or whatever. I don't know if this is the case, but there's some really, really gritty deaths and murders that happen in Mexico just like this. So, coming from the Daily Mail, a married gay couple visiting Mexico from Texas are found tortured, shot, and dismembered in trash bags 70 miles apart in Ciudad Juarez. A lesbian couple from Texas was tortured and shot dead before their bodies were dismembered and left into garbage bags on streets in the Mexican border town Ciudad Juarez. Excuse me. The women were identified as Naomi Medina Martinez and Yuliza Ramirez, both 28 of El Paso, according to Chihuahua State Office of the Attorney General. The bags containing their bodies were found about 17 miles apart from each other on a stretch of Juarez El Porvenir, I think, rose Sunday morning. One of the bodies was San Augustine neighborhood, and the other was found at the entrance of Jesus Carranza village. Whoa. That's like literally, I think that's a border town for El Paso. Mexican newspaper El Diario reported that they were visiting family members in Ciudad Juarez, and they last saw the last two on Saturday. It's unclear how long they had been in Mexico. The two were Mexican citizens but lived in Texas. Chihuahua Committee for Sexual Diversity Director Karen Arvizo confirmed to Daily Mail that the couple were mothers to three children and they were married into 2021. Arvizo fears that the murders of Medina Martinez and Ramirez could go unsolved, like many other hate crime incidents across Mexico's LGBT community in the past. The concern is that authorities will absolutely do nothing, Arvizo said. We feel like we're treated like second class citizens and we really don't matter. On Monday, Ciudad Juarez, authorities found the bodies of the two other women at an intersection at the Patria Zaragoza neighborhood. They'd also been tortured and shot. They had not been identified. One of the victims was declared dead scene, and the other died at a local hospital from the gunshot wound. It's unknown if the four murders were connected. Wow. I mean, that is scary. The Only Warnley says, not saying America is a safe haven, but I'm sure as heck staying out of Mexico. I hear you right. I hear you right there. That is so strict. You know what, too? We also covered this multiple times on this channel or multiple times on this podcast about like the actual tourist destinations in Mexico, like Cancun, Playa del Carmen, like all those places. They have been at subject for cartel like wars. So, if you don't know, some of these plazas, these stores, these even some resorts, they're owned by the cartels. And so what will happen is if there are cartel wars, if there are any cartel members that are like, at the resorts, working at the resorts or at the plazas, what have you, the rival cartels don't care. They will go there regardless if tourists are there, if they're bystanders or if they're in the crossfire, and they will open fire on the cartel members that they are targeting, not caring if the tourists will get hurt. So what's happened in the recent months is Mexico has sent their National Guard out to the beaches, like of Cancun, of the tourist destinations, to protect the tourists because this is happening. So I'm just saying that because there are many parts of Mexico that are increasingly becoming more violent, and that is just, it's so sad and it's so scary because again, it's just you would think you'd be safe at certain parts of Mexico, but even the cartels are kind of scouring in the tourist destinations, and the Mexican National Guard are out there protecting the beaches. That's how scary it is. All right. Okay. Coming from people.com. So this was actually a fashion. Oh, not this person. That's Robert Durst. So Vogue fashion icon, and I'm just going to go through this very briefly because out of this person was a fashion icon. It surprised me that this person died yesterday. I had no idea. Fashion icon and former Vogue creative director Andre Leon Talley, dead at 73, died of a heart attack. Famed writer and former Vogue creative director had been in the hospital battling an unknown illness, TMZ reported Tuesday. Unknown illnesses and TMZ paired together, to me, this is just me, okay? TMZ and these unknowns and these like really weird deaths. I think I'm just gonna let my silence serve as what I want to say. Very strange. Unknown illness. He died. So he died of an. So he went in for an unknown illness, but he died of a heart attack. Look, TMZ, from what I am researching with my documentary on Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, they just, and then like also reporting on Britney Spears and all these things, like they can spin something very easily. So I don't trust too much of TMZ. Now there's some like basic reports that are like, it's not really spinnable. They're just reporting on events or something like that. Then sometimes I'll take it from that. But if they're speaking of like, oh, this person died because of this, or don't pay attention to this, I'm kind of like, okay, sus TMZ. So this came from the social media. Diane von Furstenberg wrote on Instagram, "Goodbye, darling Andre. No one saw the world in a more glamorous way than you did. No one was grander and more soulful than you were. The world will be less joyful. I have loved you and left with you for 45 years. I miss your loud screams. I love you so much." Contacts for Talley did not immediately respond for people's request for comment. Talley first joined Vogue in 1983 as magazine's first news director. He quickly rose to the creative director and editor-in-chief and Anna Wintour's right hand, and position held from 1987 to 1995. He left Vogue in 1995 to move to Paris. He returned to W Magazine after working for the publication earlier this year. I want to move to what happened to him. It's that. It doesn't mention. It doesn't mention. Isn't that crazy? He died yesterday. What is this? Fashion icon, creative director, dead at 73. And the only thing we have to know is that he was in the hospital battling an unknown illness right here. Is that not sus? Is that not suspicious? Just battling an unknown illness, and then all of a sudden that's what we're left with. That's it. He was battling an unknown illness and he died. I saw another story that he died of a heart attack, but it's very strange that they wouldn't mention that at all in here. Just, oh, he's just gone. Isn't that not strange? Very strange. Okay, anyway. Just thought I'd let you know, something like this. Also, the creative director of Louis Vuitton, I want to say last month in December, he died of mysterious causes as well. I wonder what's happening. Actually, I'm going to look into that after my podcast tonight. All right. So we're going to pivot on to the Daily Traffic, where I bring you the latest in human and sex trafficking news. We're going to go to The Guardian, where they're reporting that Italian police, they arrest and allege a Black Axe Nigerian mafia members over trafficking. So Black Axe, I actually did a news report on this in December, I want to believe, but they kind of overviewed this cult. So this is like a cult. Black Axe is like a cult. And basically they act as this cult, the sex trafficking cult, and this was a big problem, as they reported. But now it seems to be that they made some arrests. 4 alleged members of the Nigerian mafia have been arrested in southern Italy after a young sex trafficking survivor spoke out against them. The men who were arrested in Palermo and Taranto in the early hours of Tuesday allegedly belonged to the feared Black Axe, a cult-like criminal gang that emerged in the 1970s at the University of Benin, according to police. I would have to imagine these people are kind of like the Santa Muerte cult type people. I'm just going to put some equivalents maybe to that, which are pretty scary. All right. Investigators in Palermo who led the operation said the woman, who is also Nigerian, was forced into prostitution after taking part in an occult ritual bound up with spiritual beliefs known as juju, which bond victims to their traffickers and to many debts will incur. The suspects were charged with slavery, human trafficking, kidnapping, and pandering, recruiting prostitutes, the police said. The woman, whom investigators said was convinced by the Pentecostal cleric to report her captors to the police, had been imprisoned, raped, blackmailed, and forced into prostitution to pay a debt of about 12,500 pounds. Now, the reason why I immediately thought of like the Santa Muerte, or like the Santa Muerte, like the people from there, sometimes these people will act out of like dark will to act upon their sacrificial, I guess, their sacrificial givings to the Santa Muerte. And so sometimes they'll beckon like protection, or they'll beckon like money, stuff like that, things like this, from this entity. And so they'll make like these sacrificial trade-offs to get what they want. I don't know a lot about juju. I don't know a lot about that. It sounds like black magic of some sort, but they said that this was an occult sort of ritual that they did with these sex trafficking victims. Before she left Nigeria, like many other victims of sex trafficking, the woman had made and undergo traditional oath-taking ceremony involving a complicated, frightening rituals, often using the women's blood, hair, and clothing. Those carrying out the ritual has been found to have a profound psychological impact on victims. I would imagine that this would have a definite psychological impact on victims. So it does seem to be that this was a cult ritual that they were using blood sacrifice, clothing, and hair. This is 100% black magic. The abuse of religious and cultural belief systems in Nigeria was proved deadly and highly effective control mechanism for traffickers recruiting women destined for the sex trade in Europe. A hugely profitable and well-organized criminal industry has been operating between Italy and Nigeria for more than 2 decades, but the UN's International Organization for Migration says it's been a rise in the number of potential sex trafficking victims arriving in Italy by sea in the past few years, lured by the promise of work in the country, which is usually how they always do it. Like if you're doing like transnational trafficking, it's always the promise of a better life somehow. And a lot of times this is like the guarantee of a job, when really it's a grift for sex trafficking. So last year, it says Italian police arrested 30 people suspected of belonging to the Nigerian Black Axe Mafia, which has been operating in many regions of the country. Among them is a suspected 35-year-old leader in Italy. So, with that being said, that's very scary. This is definitely going on. Nobody can say that black magic does not occur, that people are not doing blood ritual sacrifices. This is, I mean, this is reported by The Guardian, by the way. This is reported by The Guardian. The Guardian is known to be like a certain bias leaning news source. So if The Guardian is admitting, like they're reporting this transparently, like this is going on. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is what happens a lot. It's very scary. All right, next story coming from KLTV. Texas funds $1 million grants to aid foster youth and sex traffic victims. Okay, I am just going to keep my eye on this because Joan, Once Purpose, who is on here listening, knows the type of work that I'm going to do within this particular alliance. Not me particularly, but a conjoined effort with volunteers and all this. We're trying to find, like, is the money going to where it says it's supposed to be going to? But let's see what they have to say. Governor Abbott announced Tuesday $1 million grants connecting foster youth and victims of sex trafficking to workforce education programs. The Texas Talent Connection grants are going to a 2-year pilot program. Candidates for the program are aged 16 to 25 with the goal of aiding them in finding and maintaining employment leading to independence and self-sufficiency. The Texas Employment Empowerment Model for Disenfranchised Youth and Young Adults pilot brings both together local workforce development boards with the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, foster youth transition centers, and commercially sexually exploited youth advocates. Navigators, Workforce Center staff, and employers will be trained in working with vulnerable individuals as foundation for the pilot. 4 local workforce development boards and foster youth transition centers are participating in the 2-year pilot program. I just hope that this goes to where they say it's going to go to. But again, this is work that we are actively looking at with Counter Trafficking Alliance. All right, moving on to the next story coming from ABC News. Canadian fashion mogul Peter Nygard denied bail in Toronto. So as you guys know, Peter Nygard, he is in jail currently awaiting extradition to the United States for the Southern District of New York for a lawsuit against him in sex trafficking. Peter Nygard has been denied bail. Nygard is charged with 6 counts of sexual assault and 3 counts of forcible confinement, which Toronto police said relate to alleged incidents in the late 1980s and mid-2000s. He has denied all allegations. Oh, excuse me. Nygard, the former head of the multi-million-dollar company, was flown to Toronto from Winnipeg in October to face the charges, which, by the way, Winnipeg dropped all charges. They won't be charging him at all. He was first arrested in Winnipeg in 2020 under Extradition Act after being charged with the 9 sex-related counts in New York. On the same day, last October, that Nygard agreed to extradition the United States to face a charge on sex trafficking, police in Toronto announced their own charges. The extradition request from the U.S. details accounts from 7 alleged victims who say their livelihoods and movements became dependent on having sex with Nygard. He's also subject of a class action lawsuit in the United States involving 57 women with similar allegations. So we just saw the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell. That was in the Southern District of New York. Let's hope that this district continues to do, the right type of work and that they don't appeal. All right, this next story coming from KUOW NPR. 5 women sue Seattle rapper Raz Simone for say he trafficked them. Pearl, a dancer in Las Vegas, has recently left the man she says sex trafficked her. Still, she said, his chokehold remained. She was back at work, this time at Palomino Club off the Vegas Strip. It was a full no joint and a departure from the upscale places she was familiar with. She felt a rush of pride and fear returning to the stage, pride that she had broken free, and fear that he would find her. He was Solomon Raz Simone, a Seattle hip hop artist who says she was in a lawsuit, sex trafficked, and abused her in Las Vegas for more than a year, ending in 2017. Pearl returned to the club to earn money for a new apartment. She said somewhere Simone wouldn't follow her. When she was with Simone, there were consequences. When she didn't obey him, she said Simone held her captive for 3 days within a confined space, a sleeping pod, and said that half a mile north of Seattle police buildings in Airport Way. She said more than once he forcibly had sex with her and strangled her. As Pearl danced at Palomino in Las Vegas, Bill Geyer, a veteran Seattle police detective, looked into Simone. Several women alleged abuse and they said wanted to talk. After 4.5 years of waiting, it seemed an investigation, if one existed, was going nowhere. And also, 5 women, including Pearl, filed a lawsuit that says Simone harmed them, hoping for some resolution. Geyer shared his files with FBI sometime between 2020 and 2021. Years later, speaking with the women, 2 things happened around that time. Angelica Campbell filed a protection order, and Simone was captured on video handing a semi-automatic firearm to a fellow protester. Simone has reportedly denied these accusations. It's been plain they put together years back, Simone said. The money's on the line and they're using it like a class action lawsuit. Their lawsuit follows a national trend of survivors using civil courts to hold their alleged predators accountable when the criminal justice system hasn't been intervened. In the high-profile cases of movie producer Harvey Weinstein and musician R. Kelly, criminal convictions came months and years after their victims filed suit. The plaintiffs say that Simone targets young, vulnerable women who are involved with sex work or susceptible to it. They say that he wins them over with affection and pitches their relationship as a chance to grow and find success as a part of his family. This is always the case. Always the case. This is always the case with these Romeo pimps. This is how they ensnare their victims. They ensnare them with the tactic of Romeo pimping. They love bomb them. They think that they're in a relationship, and then they get ensnared, and then they get caught in the life. Once persuaded, they said that Simone imposed strict rules on what they could eat, how to act, placed the money on and quota on them, pressured them to meet it by stripping or performing sex acts, and took the money they made. They said in a lawsuit, they said that Simone used coercion, threats, and violence to make them comply and use them as a fodder for his music. Simone said Simone has repeatedly denied these allegations in an interview and in music video that he published following KUOW's initial story. He denied allegations again. And he drafted a letter by his lawyer and sent to KOUW. This lawsuit seeks to sue a variety of people and entities in an effort to create cohesive cases or a case, but there isn't one here, and we have no doubt that the case will be dismissed on the merits, Simone's lawyer, Corinne Mullen, said. So there have been other women that have come onto this lawsuit. This is typically how it happens. They exploit women and they sell them this fake future that they have a family, they're going to be married and all these things. And then lo and behold, they get them entrapped in that life. But that's what happens. And that's what happens in Romeo pimping. It's what it sounds like. They sell them this relationship. They sell them this thing where it's like, we're gonna buy a house, we're gonna have kids. They sell them a whole future, and then what happens is that they really don't mean it. They're actually selling them something fake that will never happen. In fact, they'll exploit them until no end, just to get what they want: money, success, and they'll do it all by leveraging the exploitation of another human being. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Nightly with Natalie, the Daily Traffic, here every single day, Monday through Friday. It's supposed to be 9:30 Central Time, my start time. Sometimes I'm a little bit late, but I appreciate you all for your support. So anyway, I hope you all have a great night. I hope you have a restful sleep. Or if you're listening to me as a morning podcast, I hope you guys have a great day. I love you all. Thank you so much for your support. I will catch you in the next episode. Have a great night. Bye-bye. Or day. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.